Are you ready, podcast? Time to demonstrate. Rachelle Logan, the etiquette queen, teaching us all how to thrive in the scene. Etiquette queen, she's on the scene. Professional development, living the dream. Public speaking, bridging the gap. Success is a journey, ain't no looking back. Knowledge is power, that's the truth. Learning from the best.
Start. Welcome back to the Are You Ready podcast. My name is Lady Rachelle, and today I have a very special guest, and I'm sure a lot of you remember. And his name is Michael Bennett. And Michael is back because he has something new that he wants to share with the audience. So, Michael, why don't you give my audience a quick synopsis of why you were here the last time, and then we'll go into why you're here today. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. We've developed a bond in our time on this show. So we talk to each other off air now and stuff like that. We become close friends.
Absolutely.
But the last time I was here, well, the last 3 times I was here, the first 2 times we were talking about my book that I wrote about my childhood. This one, if you probably can't see it, it's 710 split.
Clear.
That little goober on that front page is me when I was about 11 months old.
Yes.
And it chronicled my life as a military brat from about birth until I was 18 years old. A lot of the book discussed how wonderful military brat life could be, but also the challenges that I faced. Because a lot of times, being an African American growing up in the 60s and 70s in the military, we were stationed in Spain during the bulk of the civil rights movement.
Right.
And so anything that had to do with civil rights, and keep in mind, I was only 5 or 6 years old, was new to me.
Yeah.
When we got back to the United States when I was 8, and then I got sent to Florida to do the forced busing experiment. Keep in mind, I live on an Air Force base when 95% of my neighbors are white. We got bused in an all-black neighborhood. And I had no friends for probably about a year. Neither black nor white. Nobody wanted to talk to me because they didn't know what to do with the tall kid with the quirky New England accent from 4 years of living in Maine.
Sometimes it's not even racism. It's just like you said, they just didn't know.
They didn't know. A lot of the kids, especially in the black community, were afraid of me. Keep in mind, this is Panama City, Florida. We're talking about a place that's 90 miles from the Alabama state line in the Florida Panhandle. Beautiful beaches, probably the best beaches I've ever seen. And I travel a lot. But most of the people down south back in those days never left a 50-mile radius of their front yard.
Exactly.
So when they see this kid who is in 7th grade, I was already almost 6 feet tall. I was starting to grow an afro that would make Angela Davis proud. For those of you who, if you don't know who Angela Davis is, look her up.
And that added 3 or 4 more inches to your height.
It sure did. And I was skinny as a rail. But we spent the 4 previous years in northern Maine. Somewhere in my time to northern Maine, I developed this quirky New England accent. So you can imagine a 6-foot black guy in 7th grade with an afro out to here with this quirky New England accent that I eventually got rid of. But they were, in hindsight, they were afraid of me.
Yeah.
And my white neighbors, they weren't as afraid of me because they were used to being around people of color because of their affiliation with the military. I actually had no problems with the kids. It was more their parents because they brought some of those biases into the military with them.
Right.
And eventually they all got to know me as well. So it was an eye-opening experience, and I'm glad I wrote about it. By the way, I'm actually working on the screenplay for my story as we speak. So it'll be one of the movies that I'm working on.
Right.
I think the other reason I was here is actually about my movie. It's called Barrage. It is the story of the only all-black unit to participate in the D-Day invasion. And it focuses on the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion. I don't know if you can see the background, but those things flying in over my head and off to the sides there, those are barrage balloons.
Yes.
And they were designed to force, in this case, the German Luftwaffe planes higher in the air because our artillery could not accurately target them when they were lowered to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they were. Some of them have a bomb attached to the bottom of it so that if a plane actually hits the cable that supports that balloon in the air, it'll blow up. or it'll shear off their wing. It's one or the other. Either the wings going and they're crashing, or the dynamite that was attached to the cable that keeps those things aloft at about 2 to 5,000 feet. One way or the other, that plane's going down if it hits.
Wow. Very
So
creative.
that was, yeah, it was funny too. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I was born there. I'm a military brat. So my dad joined the military about 2 months after I was born. So,
Right.
being from Atlantic City is just the place where I was born. But I say that to say that I had a family member in the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion that I was completely unaware of until about 5 years ago. And unfortunately, he passed away before
Wow.
I was able to speak to him. But my first cousin is a member of the family. So she's the one that gave me the story. And I'm like, that makes a great movie.
Yeah.
So I
I,
wrote
I
the
was
movie
I
up
was
front.
just excited to hear, and the fact that you had firsthand knowledge. It's one thing to go do some research and find something you like, but no, this is personal for you. This is
It
very
is.
personal for you, and I'm so looking forward to you getting that movie made and educating people.
Yeah. And
Because
in this climate,
yes,
I don't want to get overly political, but the idea that what's going on now is whitewashing history to show or to remove the contributions of all people of color,
yes,
women, and anybody from the LGBTQ community, that is personal to me.
yeah,
My grandfather was in World War II. My dad went to Vietnam. My uncle is a career sergeant major in the Army. I have cousins on active duty as you and I are sitting here having this conversation.
wow,
And when I think about all the sacrifice of all the people that I grew up around as a child and my own service as a vet, um, it hurts to
oh, I
see
know,
their history being removed.
or not
Um,
being told,
or not being told.
right?
Yeah, there was actually a twofold process here. You're right. They're not being told, or what was being told got removed.
Yes, yes,
And I first got my dander up when they removed Admiral Franchetti from the Navy.
hmm,
She was preceded by removing the lady who ran the Coast Guard. Then CQ Brown got removed. This all happened in a month.
wow,
And then the scrubbing of the Tuskegee Airmen from the basic training videos, Jackie Robinson's contributions. The list just goes on and on of what's going on. So
wow.
that will actually lead to why I'm here today, which we can have a little powwow about, because I am not going to stand by and allow our history to be erased.
Thank you.
That's not going to happen on my watch. As long as I'm still breathing, I'm going to do something about it. So
Thank
I'm
you.
guessing that your audience has probably figured out that I'm a filmmaker by now.
Yes, yes. In California.
In California, yep, it's about 85 degrees here. It's nice and sunny.
Oh,
Um, it's beautiful here, but yeah,
well,
it's
I'm happy back. I really am, because when you let me know that something has touched your heart and that you just feel so passionate about it, and that you wanted to let everybody know, well, you wanted to tell me, and then I said, okay, let's tell everybody else. And this is your nonprofit. So
right.
why don't you talk about your nonprofit?
Well, in keeping with me wanting to tell the stories of veterans, and making sure our history doesn't get erased, I launched something called the Truth Initiative. And the Truth is an acronym that stands for Teach, Restore, Uncover, Triumph, and Honor.
Wow.
Um, and I launched it in large measure because I want to get these stories told, not just Barrage. Barrage is the story that I crafted, but there are other stories out there that need to be told,
Mhm.
that people forget. Barrage is based on a true story, and it will, show itself. I think it'll show very well. It'll be somewhere around 2 hours once we get it produced. But I wanted to make sure that this story gets told. But when I talk to other veterans, I hear stories all the time that are just as
Mhm.
equally important, if not more so, than Barrage in terms of the total contribution.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to do was launch this initiative. It's a nonprofit, so anybody who wants to donate, it's a tax deductible donation. And what we want to do is multi-purpose. The first purpose is to get stories of the contributions of veterans who are people of color, indigenous people, by the way, who seem to always get forgotten when we have these discussions.
There are some stories there.
Oh yeah, and women and LGBTQ community. I want these stories to come to the forefront. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to turn every single one of them into a movie, but there are other things that we can do. One of the initiatives of this initiative involves teaching and sharing this knowledge with colleges, universities, high schools, and things of that sort. So for those that we can't turn into a movie, because movie making is expensive, for those we can't turn into a movie, we're going to turn it into educational materials that we can actually share with HBCUs and other universities that have it. Black history departments and places like that. And any place that you can think of that we need to be able to tell these stories that I don't know of, I want to know about them. You can contact me. My email address is my company name, mbennett, BENNETT, at 727squared.com. That's my production company. Send me an email because I want these stories out there. No one, at least as long as I'm still living, is going to get away with not telling our stories. So that was one part of the initiative. The other part of the initiative is once I get the nonprofit funded, is I want to hire veterans. One thing about working with veterans, they know how to follow a mission. They know how to get the work done. I've been in the entertainment industry for over 30 years. And sometimes when you talk to people in entertainment, they're so cavalier about it. It's like, oh yeah, it'll get done. But no. If you're a vet, this too. If you are given a task by your commander, doggone it, you're going to get it done.
Till it's finished.
Exactly. And if you can't get it done, you better let somebody know why you're not getting it done.
Right.
And, so my whole thing was, okay, I can employ veterans, I can tell veterans stories, but I also want to make sure that there are other stories out there that veterans write that may not have anything to do with their military service. I want those stories too.
Right.
Because they come with a skill. Veterans come with a skill set that's actually pretty well tailored to the entertainment industry. Task driven and rigging sets and just technology. Think about this. Yeah. I mean, think about Barrage, for example. It takes place on Normandy. Where am I going to be able to replicate Normandy in 2025? I'm not going to be able to.
Right.
Right. So we use technology to replicate that. I was a computer programmer when I was on active duty. So for me, technology is second nature.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people who are on active duty now, everything they're doing is technology related.
Absolutely.
Whether you're on a Navy sub, whether you're on a boat, whether you're, aircraft maintenance people, everything is tech now.
Yes.
So they have a tech mindset that allows us to take the newer technologies and adapt them to the filmmaking experience. So that was the other impetus of me wanting to get this initiative going and going right away is I want to employ veterans I want them to be part of the company, if you will, that manages the nonprofit to help me out. But I also want them on film sets. I want to be able to teach them how to do the film business. So on the days that I'm not here, they can do it themselves.
Or expand your reach and your goal. Just
exactly.
Somebody in every state almost, because like you said, everyone has a story and we have specific stories that somewhere they're written down in history that it happened. And it's just a matter, like you said, is where are these stories and how can you get your hands on them? Because everybody, I'm sure, probably could fill your voicemails up with, my grandfather did this, or my great grandfather was here. He helped to create this. There are all kinds of stories that we are not being told, number one. And number two, they're just buried somewhere in a history book because they had to record what happened. Somewhere it's written, somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful because especially now with the way the veterans are, what's going on with us. But I think it's important regardless of what's going on. There is history out there and there are contributions that are not being told. Well, they haven't been told. And Barrage is just one of many, many. And then you talked about, to me, with women veterans. I mean, 6888 just opened the door for a lot of people to say, you know what? I remember when this happened. I remember when we as a unit had to do this, and we never got recognition for it. We never, no one ever said thank you, but this is what happened. So the fact that you are even seeking for people to inform you of things, I think is just great, because like the ideas come first, and then the money should come, because everybody's going to probably, hopefully and prayerfully say, hey, I would love to see that. I would love
Right.
to know more about that story. The HBCUs, the ones that are left, I mean, even not HBCUs, I think a lot of schools, hopefully in a few years they'll be able to get, information on people of color and minorities, of their contributions, and not be considered DEI,
Right.
because everything, it's just facts. It's not DEI. It's not that we're making something up. It's there. So it,
Yep.
to us, is not DEI, because we know that it was us that did it. So,
Right.
and I think, not, like I said, not just HBC, but all colleges, because they have different months throughout the year at every single college, regardless of, what type of college it is. And that should be a time that every month they should have something,
Yep.
some type of information. And I think what you're doing with, and I hope that they're all movies. I know that's a lot of work, but I just hope that they're all movies, and so that we can see, so that we
Yeah.
so that we can see what's going on. So, do you have any ideas so far with the nonprofit, of where you're going to start with this, or how you're going to start it?
Well, the first part, the website's up, the nonprofit is active, so I'll put the website on the screen momentarily.
Okay.
So, we're ready to start accepting donations now. And the donations are not just going to be from individual listeners of your program. I'm also starting to write to uh, grants and foundations who I know have an interest either in military history or cultural awareness, or who are still supporting quote unquote DEI.
Right,
So it's going to be a long process, because people who issue grants typically don't do them in a hurry. And you have a whole certain list of criteria. And sometimes when you write a grant proposal, it's like 50 pages long. So
right,
that's going to take me some time. I'm
right,
hoping that I can raise enough capital through donations from the public that I can at least get an assistant to help me start to amass all of the
right.
things that I'm going to need to do, because
Right.
doing it by myself
I
is a
know,
non-starter.
I know.
It's not going to work. Maybe the people can volunteer to help me, but I still want to compensate somebody for their work.
Absolutely.
It's not fair to do all that work and not get compensated
Right.
on
But
some
at the
levels.
beginning, I mean, hopefully people understand that, you're at ground zero right now.
Yeah, I'm at ground zero. The nonprofit is ready for donations now. I'm at ground zero, but I think it's important for me to explain how this worked. I don't have quote unquote what they call the traditional nonprofit. I have what they call a fiscal sponsor, because starting a nonprofit on your own is expensive.
Right.
So when somebody clicks the donate button on my website, you're actually going to be taking off my site to the nonprofit that acts as my fiscal sponsor. That's their job, is to collect the donations for
Oh,
me.
okay.
And
Okay.
then they will generate the income back to me at the appropriate time.
Okay.
And if you do it online, of course, your credit card, it'll specifically say it's coming to me. If you decide to mail a check, there's also ways around that as well.
Right.
But I did it that way because a nonprofit could cost like 2 or 3 grand just to get one started, and it takes months to get something done. So I partnered with a fiscal sponsor, and that's how I set it up. Um, the other couple other things I want to say before I show the
Okay.
website and stuff like that. I have a plea to your listeners.
Okay.
One of the
Everybody
things
listen
my
up.
grand
Everybody listen up.
yeah, listen up, red flag, here we go. One of the things that struck me when I was researching Barrage, a lot of those soldiers came back, and I say soldiers because they were primarily Army. They came home, and they told their relatives that they were part of the D-Day invasion, and their relatives did not believe them.
No.
And so they kept their stories to themselves. Some of them took those stories to the grave after they realized that their own family did not believe they were part of D-Day. Having had a grandfather who served in Okinawa during World War II, he never talked about his service in the military. My father was career Air Force and spent a year in Vietnam. The only reason I even know what happened to him in Vietnam was because I worked at the NCO club in high school where he'd go have drinks with his boys after work, and I would overhear the stories. My father never talked about it. So my plea to you is simply this. If you have older family members who have served in the military, make them talk and write it down. Even if it goes nowhere, we have to preserve this history. And this is across the board for anybody who fits the Truth Initiative paradigm. Get those stories down because they're basically being lost to history. And then nobody, even the intentional willfulness of the people who are whitewashing our history, then we got the other side where it's not even being recorded.
Right. And we know nothing.
We know nothing. I have friends of mine who served in Vietnam and nothing. The timing of my active duty service compared to my father's, we overlapped by, believe it or not, we overlapped by a week.
Wow. From him.
But a lot, yeah.
Wow.
But a lot of the people he served with during his time would become people that I got close to because they were still serving when I was on board. So a lot of them had gone to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so, this is just, it's something I really want to capture because if we don't collect these stories now, they go. It can't just be we capture stories about slavery and things like that. There's a bigger play here for the military contributions that have allowed this country to be what it is. So that's my plea.
Category. Yeah, which is just another category of information that we need to find.
Yes.
We're still learning so much about what happened during slavery, and I'm sure we will continue. But there is also another whole chapter over here on the veterans and the accomplishments that were done that's never been told.
Right.
So and the more I find out, just like Barrage, I just started doing research myself, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah. There was a member of Barrage, Waverly Woodson, who just got his medal last year from Congress. They'd been fighting. I think he was nominated for the Bronze Star, but they wanted it upgraded. He just got his medal last year posthumously, obviously, because he passed away 15, 20 years ago, and his widower took the got the medal for him, but he shouldn't have to wait that long.
I say the same thing. He never received it.
Nope, he never saw it.
Yes. Wow.
He never saw it. And several congressmen got involved. Mark Vesey from Texas is the primary one who was helping shepherd it through Congress to get that medal, because the unit itself, the 320th Barrage, they did get a commendation, but a lot of the soldiers who were part of the 320th Barrage only heard about it and way after the fact. They never themselves got the commendation handed to them. And Lieutenant Colonel Reed, Leon Reed, who was the commander of the 320th, he nominated multiple people for medals. Nobody got any until Woodson did, and that was 2024. So we have these stories that show this dynamic going back and forth all the time. I actually am very good friends with the first Black Navy diver in the Coast Guard. I actually helped him write his book, which should be coming out any day now. I can't divulge his book yet. He made me promise not to, but it's coming. And
my way, all right?
Yeah, he didn't even know that he was the first Black Navy diver in the Coast Guard. Somebody had to tell him. So there's I didn't know. I mean, there's stories out there all the time, and I hear these stories all the time as I'm starting to get more attached to veterans through media and stuff like that just go away. There's one other thing I want to mention before I pop the website up, and it has to do with filmmaking in general. The other reason that I started to this nonprofit was financial. And here's what I mean by that. When you make movies, there is several phases of the movie. There is the development part, that your script writing and your budgeting and your projected production schedule. Then you flip into pre-production, which is when you get your crew hired and get all your actors attached to the film. And then there's the actual production, and then there's post-production. A lot of places don't want you to use your donation monies for actual physical production, but they will allow you to use it for the development phase. So I can actually go through, like with Barrage, for example, you can pay somebody to write your script. You can pay somebody to do your budgeting. You can pay somebody to set up your production schedule. There's all kinds of things that get paid for in the nonprofit sector. Why am I mentioning that? Because then that saves the money for the production itself when you go out and get other sources. In other words, if Barrage costs $100 to make, I can actually save $20 of that 100 just by having the nonprofit do all the work.
Okay.
And then what you do is you just license it over to the for-profit side, and that's a whole different animal, which we'll cover later. But the reason that I wanted to do it that way is not necessarily to save the production dollars for the budget, but to allow people to tell their stories, knowing that there's some compensation for them while those stories are being written and put together. When I did Barrage, I wasn't being paid to write the story. It just resonated with me. I would have loved to have gotten a paycheck because honestly, writing a screenplay could take several months.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. The other part of it too is like when we do have screenings for movies and stuff like that on military installations, the nonprofit will cover that. So, if I go to, Fort Benning or, whatever, I think they renamed it back to Fort Benning, which shocks me. Don't get me started on that. But, or a Navy post, Pearl Harbor, Langley or whatever, the nonprofit will actually pay for that. So it's not like, I have to charge a veteran to come in the front door and pay a ticket price. The nonprofit will cover that. So these are the other reasons why I put the nonprofit together too, is because I wanted easy access for our veteran community in particular to be able to see it. So
that's wonderful.
That's my 2 cents.
Well, I was going to take a break, but I don't see the point because I know you have your website and I want to make sure that you tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Well, here, I'm going to share my screen with the website now. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is the website. Yeah. Reclaiming the Forgotten History.
What's the website name?
It's called Truth Initiative. The word initiative is all spelled out, INITIATIVE, Truth Initiative .online, not .com. It's .online. Somebody had a derivative of .com and I couldn't get it.
Okay.
So it's Truth Initiative .online.
Wow. Okay. And what are some of the things on here that they'll be able to find?
Well, obviously you can see the donate button where I'm moving my cursor right now.
Yes.
Then you see the film, and this is all a one-page site, so it's not going to take you away. So if you don't hit these buttons, it'll scroll down like this. Okay. And this will tell you how to get involved and to help. I would just scroll down to some of these. This is our mission, about what it's about. And it's also linked to my production company website. So not only can you see this particular initiative and learn about Barrage, but you can see some of the other film projects and a little bit more about my production company in general. Okay. So this is all being done in association with my production company.
Okay.
And then, of course, this is a little bit about Barrage. I won't bore you with the details because you just heard me say it again.
Yes, and then hopefully everybody go back and listen to Michael's previous interviews with me because he goes into a lot of detail about the movie Barrage.
Yeah, so that helps. And then that handsome guy right there, or at least the one in the bottom right-hand corner, believe it or not, that little tiny photo in the bottom right-hand corner is me at basic training in 1978.
Wow.
Yeah, Yeah, I can't believe how thin I look back then compared to now. But
Okay,
but
we grow up and out sometimes, and now you're back down to, your original. So that's
well, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting close. Yeah, that was actually my goal, by the way. When for those of you who don't know, we were talking about my weight loss when we came on, and I said my goal is to get down to what I weighed when I left military service. So we'll see if that gets there.
well, you're on.
Um, yeah, so this is my bio. You can see all that stuff. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I actually submitted Barrage to 3 film festivals, and I placed in every single one of them for the script. So I've gotten a lot of acclaim. I've had multiple producers read the script. They all love it. They love the story. They think the timing of it is just right. So I'm hoping and praying that once we get this done, it'll resonate with everybody. And down here at the bottom is, how to get involved, whether it's veteran creatives, which I explained to you before. We're not only looking for stories about the service of veterans who fit our paradigm, but we're also looking at maybe they have stories that they would like to tell that may not be related to their military service.
Yeah.
My childhood story with 710 Split's a perfect example of that. It's about something that I experienced. Yeah, the military may have caused it, but it was a childhood story that needed to be
Right.
told.
Right.
There's a section about schools and nonprofits and how they can help. I also have, if you want to spread awareness and get our social media tags, I'm actually in the process of getting the social media tags together. I don't have that ready yet. That's the one thing on the site that is not ready, but it will be probably within the week. And you can see my biggest thing is employing veterans. I really, really, really want to employ veterans, for those who are, in my age group, for those who are just getting out of the service and don't know where to return, or how to get into this industry. Now, I have to issue caution here when you come to the entertainment industry. This business is like nothing else you have ever seen in your life. There are no rules. There's no set path career forward. There are so many jobs in entertainment. You can literally pick and choose what job you want, but it could be seasonal in a lot of cases. The average time it takes to film a movie, just the filming part, is about 30 to 60 days. The average setup time for a movie could be anywhere from 2 to 4 months, and the average post-production time could be anywhere from 2 to 4 months. So you have to start networking early in this business. So like if you're just working on production stuff, when my production's done, you better have another job lined up until I'm ready to start my next movie.
Right.
This is not for the faint of heart. So go in with that expectation,
Right.
and I will do everything I can to help you. And one last thing too, and this came to me from another Air Force veteran yesterday, yay, Air Force. Um, this actually came to me from another Air Force veteran yesterday. He's actually working, and I know the people in Hollywood are going to kill me for this, but he's actually working with developing a series about African American contributions using artificial intelligence as a driver of everything. His voice, his recreating the characters, and we talked about, he's got 52 episodes he's trying to do digitally like that. I mentioned digitally because digital is the future. And if you want to tell stories and not have the handcuffs that Hollywood puts on you, you better explore it. So that's all part of how we want to train people to be in the real world, how to work with unions, how to work with non-unions. And the biggest thing of all, and this is one thing that a lot of film schools do not teach, and it rankles my feathers, it's film financing. I actually have a company that I'm actually in the process right now of developing, that it will raise investment capital for feature films. And I haven't mentioned it here because we're still getting the capital together for it. And the reason that we're doing it is the hardest thing to do when you make a film isn't writing the script, doesn't get actors interested. It's raising capital. Every film costs money.
Yes.
The independent film world is actually being decimated right now because they can't get equity capital. So one of the things that our fund does is we actually address the equity capital situation and have a principal protection model in place to protect their equity in film. So that's not ready to roll out yet. We're still in the fundraising stages for that, but that will work in tandem with my nonprofit and being able to tell veteran stories that I control all phases of the capital flow into the project. But I think people who want to get in the film business have to be aware all that stuff that they see on TV comes at a price. Um,
Yeah.
and ignore the big blockbusters in Hollywood. Those are being produced by studios. There's a difference between the studio side of the business and the independent film side of the business. Most of us, including me, are going to stay in the independent world. A, we have more creative freedom. B, our budgets are significantly lower. I'm not having to go beg somebody. And believe it or not, you can get top flight actors to work in independent films.
I believe that.
You just mentioned the one with Kerry Washington and them
Yes.
with the women,
Yes.
the 688. Though that was not a major film,
Right.
and yet you got talent like Kerry Washington to do the part. A lot of actors will work in films because they love your concept, they love the idea. Some of them just want to work. It's no secret that for those who really want to advance their careers, most of the Oscars and Emmy Awards for films come from the independent film world. They don't come from Hollywood blockbusters.
Right. Especially
So
movies that we haven't even seen most of the time.
exactly. And so
Like,
they
I never even
will,
heard of them. Where did those movies come from? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So they will come and work with you if as long as you put a good project in front of them. Your issue will be figuring out how to get past the gatekeepers for them because a good agent's going to want to maximize every dollar they can for their client.
Exactly. Exactly. And it sounds like this is the entertainment world is the word entertainment. It says it all just in the word itself. And when I was stationed out in San Diego, I mean, we used to go up to Los Angeles and Hollywood. And even now, my daughter and I, when we go to basketball games in LA, we go down Hollywood Boulevard. You can see all just something happening all the time. So it's a very exciting feel. But behind that curtain is where the work, like you're explaining, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes consistency, it takes dedication, it takes discipline, and it takes money. I mean, we want to hear these stories. We want to know the contributions that we make, any race, not just blacks, but any race. And I think it's so important that you are are going into an area that really not a lot of people have gone into. That 688, you see how well it was received because we all sat there like, oh my gosh, we had no idea. And that was a true story. And so, and it wasn't just us going to see it. Everybody loved that movie. And Netflix knew it.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what they had as soon as the story was probably presented to them.
Right.
So, but now what you're doing, I'm so happy to even be part of it, giving you an opportunity to discuss it. I think the nonprofit is so important. I think that it's needed. I think it's something that it shouldn't be a one and done. I think there are so many stories out there from relatives, from neighbors, nursing homes, they have a story and probably no one has ever asked. Just like you said, talk to people because
Yeah.
ask a question. As soon as I went to the VA and all of the Vietnam hats, all of the World War II, I mean, they're all in there. And I'm thinking every single one of them has a story.
They
Every
sure do.
single one has a story.
And, and it's funny, about a month ago, not even a month ago, my fiance got me this hat. It says United
Oh,
States Air Force on it. And I live in a pretty conservative area of California. And so I actually wear the hat we walk every day. We walk 5 miles every day. So we go to various parks around the area. I have gotten more comments on that hat in 2 weeks than I have gotten in the entire 40 years I've been out of the military. They
People,
absolutely love it.
I know. And it's amazing because regardless of who you are, that when they see that, they just want to say thank you for your service.
Yep.
And
exactly.
and that makes us feel good because we don't know sometimes how people react to things going on in the world. And there was a time where we couldn't wear our military stuff. So I have a lot of it, believe me. And when I know that I can wear it, I wear it. But Mike, this has been really good. I want to make sure that, and you said your social media is coming, right?
Yes, that will be up
Okay.
hopefully in the next 48 hours. I'm working on it over the weekend. So,
Okay,
uh,
okay.
yeah,
And I know you're busy, but I just want to give everybody an opportunity to find you and to be able to reach out to you. And this will be out. I will have clips from this that'll be playing, and I'm gonna try to put this out there as much as I possibly can to
yeah.
support you. And I'm excited about the movie Barrage. I have everybody that I know excited about it because it's such a wonderful story. And who knew? That's all. And people are looking at me like, Rochelle, for real? I'm like, yes, this actually happened, and there's going to be a movie about it. Bring your grandkids, because everybody my age and your age, we got grandkids now. So
I
you
got
want
a house full of
to, I'm waiting. So anyway, but
them.
but
I
I
will
mean,
not tell your kids this.
I know, but we need to let them know
Yeah.
that we lived during this era. We actually know people that did this or experienced this, because all they'll see is something in a book and go, hmm. But when you
Mhm.
actually hear someone telling the story, I'm sure the Vietnam, the what I call the generic type of Vietnam story. We need stories. We need
Mhm.
personal stories. We need people telling their stories instead of somebody saying, "Oh, this is what we think happened," and we sort of know what happened. But in your case, where you can have actual veterans, you maybe get some Vietnam veterans that can support you and to tell you stories and that can reach out to you, and and then you can just, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, but I just think it's a great opportunity. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for people to, like you said, we got to capture it now.
Yeah.
We have to
Because think about the age of the average Vietnam veteran. I mean, if my dad were still with us, he'd be 85 years old now. So we are getting to that point now where even the Vietnam veterans are starting to leave
yeah,
us.
yeah,
And and going back to your other point, I think you're right. The generic Vietnam story or the generic World War II story, we all know that history, but there's stories within the stories that are deeply personal. People who overcome tragedy that is completely unrelated to their war service, who had to fight just to serve, as members of the 320th did.
absolutely.
There's always this background. I'm actually more interested in my story is great, but I'm actually more interested in the background of my story than I am the story itself.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You'd be surprised. I did a ceremony with a guy who got a Quilt of Valor
Mm,
captain, and I had no idea about the Quilts of Valor. I never knew
wow.
anything that they give these quilts to our veterans who fought in the wars. And at the end of the ceremony, they take this quilt that somebody made and donated to this nonprofit, and they wrap them around the arms of the veteran. And I mean, it was the most touching thing I've ever seen. And so stories like that, I mean, I had no idea. I had never even heard of the ceremony until I
Wow.
was about, and I got a chance to interview him and had him on my show before, and he passed away like 2 weeks later or something. But I got him on camera. I have his voice and what this quilt means to him. I mean, I knew nothing about this. And it's obviously something that's going on around the country because I'm supposed to have her on my show to talk about it. I did not know. So people that know how to quilt and make quilts can donate their quilts to this organization. They turn around and they present them to our veterans. Amazing.
Wow.
So things like
Yeah.
that, we need to share these stories. We need to tell them. We really do. And I hope I'm using this platform, to give people an opportunity to say, hey, this is what we do. Because that was another thing. I never heard of it. Big, giant, beautiful quilts that people actually make and donate to this organization. They are around the country. As soon as they hear that someone that's there, or they do a ceremony, and it's called the Quilts of Valor. Un-
Wow,
un-
that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up. I remember the last time I was on your podcast, you told me about that, and I had never heard of it before.
yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. So, and even this nonprofit may be able to provide you with some information. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, that
No, I'll take
connecting
all
with,
the advice I can get.
yeah, but connecting with people like that who also have direct contact with them. The bio of this captain just blew me away. His bio was absolutely amazing. So, and but is there anything else you want to share? Because you know how we
Um,
talk.
No, I mean, I covered all the basics and stuff like that. Most of the information is right there on my website. And if you didn't get my email address, there's a contact button on there. Those emails come directly to me. So just hit the contact button on the Truth Initiative website or my company 727 Square. Both of them have contact information. Both email addresses will come into my inbox personally, so you should be able to find me pretty easy. Also on LinkedIn if you need to find me on LinkedIn. So I'm around.
Michael Bennett.
But yeah, yeah.
Michael Bennett.
Anything, anything that you can think of that would help me not just raise money. I mean, I do need the money. Don't get me wrong, but how to make this program national, how to get it to take off. I'm not. I don't pretend like I have all the answers.
Right.
I'll be the facilitator, but somebody else could provide me with something that I hadn't thought
Yes,
of.
yes.
Trust me, I will adopt it and keep moving.
So you all remember that, and go on his website, truthinitiative.online. Okay.
Right.
And make sure you reach out to Michael. And like he said, donations, ideas, just maybe you want to run something by him that, like he said, he may not have thought of. But let's support each other, because everyone has veterans in their families. That's a given. So talk to your veterans, talk to them, find out if how they feel about this. They may have a story to tell that they can reach out to Michael and also share. So I appreciate you again, and I'm sure you'll be
Thank you.
back. I'm sure you'll be back, because anytime that you need to come on and let people know what's going on, like your progress, and just holler at me, like they say, like the young folks say, holler back or whatever it is. So, but thank you, Michael, for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm always intrigued and fascinated with what you're doing next. So, um, guys, this is the end of my podcast, and thanks for joining me, where we grow, glow, and go after greatness. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a message, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration. Until next time, stay ready. Thank you for watching my channel. Be sure to check out my website, RachelleLoganMedia.com. You can find the link in the description. I also have an online school teaching public speaking, etiquette, and much more. I also wrote multiple books for adults and children that will teach you to become the best version of yourself. Thank you, and see you next time.